Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly Meltdowns rewatch of the best season of all time of Survivor, Heroes versus Villains. We're here to recap episodes 11 and 12. So all the fallout. Candace's Flipperoo, which is just like yikes.com, even like 10 years later.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
It's definitely a thing. And then of course like Danielle going home as well. We have a lot to get into, but like we want to start by just saying like we know like it's been a rough past couple of days here in the US. And I feel like it would be weirder to like not acknowledge that, if that makes any sense. So I just felt like a little like hazy last night, like recording like the challenge podcast, and I just like can't stop like thinking about like everything going on. So we're just gonna try to like use this as like an escape, not only for us but for our viewers as well. So I hope everybody is staying safe. Fingers crossed that we have a smooth sailing these next 2 weeks and we can get back on track. But like for today, right now, we're going to rewind back to 2010. Yeah.
Tyler, what were you doing in life in 2010?
So I was a freshman in college, going for my wait, what? What's that face for?
I graduated college in 2010.
Yeah, I was a freshman in college, going for graphic design. I have my degree in graphic design now, so that all worked out. But yeah, I was just a young buck. I had no idea.
I was literally gonna say young buck. I hate us.
Yeah.
I hate us.
This is what happens when Allison's not here. Like you and I just like totally like sync up and just like nerd out.
I have like a weird, I feel like whenever you and I are alone together, we sync up in a weird way.
Yes.
And then whenever I'm with Allison and it's just the two of us, we sync up in just an even weirder out there, what the hell is happening? There's no structure kind of way.
Yeah.
So all I'm hearing is, Beth, you're an instigator and an enforcer of whatever personality you're with.
Exactly. But, you know, that's why there's the three of us, you know, a little taste of every type of podcasting style and everything. So so let's get into it.
We have 3 eliminations to talk about.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Like going into these 2 episodes, I was like, oh, it's going to be Amanda and then Candace. But I wasn't expecting for us to be talking about Danielle tonight, too. Which is I can't wait to get into that. But first, in the words of Julie Chen, so we after the merge.
Before we do that, I just want to say hi to Valencia, who's in the chat. And
hey Valencia, how are you?
I needed a distraction last night. I think we all did. I was not able to join for other reasons last night. But I'm thankful that we have our little family here. We have Rory the Virgo in the chat, says, yeah, get into it.
I love that.
We're going to get into it.
Yeah, get it to it, girl from TikTok.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if Julie Chen ever was like, yeah, get into it?
Oh my God. Sadly, I could totally see her doing that. Maybe that'll be a thing for our Heroes versus Villains brand steal, is Julie Chen saying, yeah, get it to it.
Get into it.
Hi,
Jared. Welcome into.
Yeah. So he says, hey queens.
Hey queens.
So of course, like all of the fallout from the merge, right? You know, Parvati plays the 2 idols. It's a big spectacle, right? And Russell doesn't like that Parvati totally like kept him out of like any knowledge about the idol being played. And so this is when Russell starts getting to work on Candace, and he identifies that like Candace is like probably the weak link out of the heroes that are left in the game. So he kind of wants to, he's kind of seeing Candace as somebody that he can use for his own benefit, you know, just in case like things go a little iffy with Parvati and Danielle, which, you know, I have to give him credit for. You know, he was the one that was able to like sniff out like, you know, she's like not as connected to like Amanda, to Rupert. Those 2 are like very tight at this point. Colby's just non-existent to anybody, even Jeff Probst. So Candace is the correct choice. And we can't forget, like, in the pre-merge, right? Like, they really mishandled Candace, like, the entire way. They really gave her a lot of shit for trying to save Tom, which I think was the right decision at the time. But because, like, she instigated all these conversations, like, created, like, all this chaos at camp, this is where it's coming back to bite her, where, like, she doesn't have that same loyalty to the heroes as the Ruperts and the Amandas of the world. So
I think what's interesting here is that it's I think that we as a whole, now that for the vast majority of people, I'm assuming the people watching this podcast, you've probably already seen Heroes versus Villains, or if this is your first time watching, you probably know the outcome because we've talked about it a billion times.
Right.
I think what's interesting is that even in my revisionist history in my head, I've never given Russell as much credit as he gives himself, but he really does deserve a lot of credit for the game that he's played. And Parvati deserves a lot of game that she's played. And I have to say, Sandra deserves more credit than she's giving for the game that she plays. And these two episodes in particular show exactly where her strength as a game player are.
Yes.
I would say even more so than Russell and Parvati, even though their game is much more in focus that you can see, her ability to understand the numbers of where she's at, her positioning, what she needs to do, even if she doesn't want to do it in order to keep herself in the game, versus Parvati and Russell can roll the dice a little bit and play a little bit of fun and cause the chaos. But she can cause the chaos just as easily, but she chooses specifically when it's important for her to do so.
Totally.
And there's no reason in this first episode where we see Amanda go home for Russell and Parvati to cause as much chaos specifically with each other as they do. And ultimately, it's this episode in particular, the fallout from the merge tribal, where Danielle's fate is sealed because for whatever reason, Danielle and Parvati tell Russell, Danielle knew about it. That was the single biggest mistake of Danielle's game right there. She should have played dumb. She should have just said, well, Parvati told me to do this, so I did it. And that's what I did. Because I trust her. I thought that maybe she had that conversation with you too. So that's what I'm thinking should have been done. But I don't know why. Let's be honest. The move to keep it a secret from Russell was absolutely genius in Parvati's mind, because what it does is it makes Russell question his grasp on the tribe. It makes him make him a little bit more reckless, which is what you need in order for people to take the target off of Parvati and put it onto Russell, which is exactly what happens. So great gameplay subliminally by Parvati, not so great in terms of her relationship with Danielle.
Totally, and I'll bring it one further, Beth. You know, I think like it probably would have benefited her to bring Jerry in on this idol knowledge.
Totally, make it a girls thing. Besides Sandra, absolutely.
I don't think Danielle would have been voted out if Jerry had been brought in as like a tight like threesome of like these like awesome badass like villain chicks, right?
So here's the thing about that. I don't know if Jerry would have kept it a secret. I have a feeling Jerry would have told Russell. Now, because what we're seeing is this weird weakness she has with Russell, and it's because Russell's the first person to show her strategic attention in this game, as if she's like helping them make the decisions. But what she's oblivious to, or at least sees, but just doesn't see it as a threat, which is a detriment to her game, is that she's not his number two. Right. You know what I mean? She needs to recognize her position on the tribe, and she's just going along for the ride, and that's to her detriment. If she was able to see, I could go farther with Parvati, or Russell isn't true to me, or even if she were to link up with Sandra, if her, Sandra, and Candace had gotten together, that could have been such an interesting tribal. And instead of Amanda or Russell going home, you could have seen someone like Parvati. You could have seen someone like Danielle or Colby, or whoever they wanted to go could have gone in this situation.
So we get into this like honestly really bad reward. It's not very good TV, and I'm glad the Survivor like doesn't do this. Like it was like a shuffleboard thing.
Yeah.
Very bizarre. Colby, Danielle, and Amanda end up winning that, and they have to watch like a movie in like a house.
Can I give my theory on this?
Yeah, yes.
You're talking about 3 people who probably stink to high heaven, who are so dirty. I think that they literally wanted a challenge that wasn't going to get them even sweatier before they went into this historical place. And can we talk about the fact that they don't even give them a shower, but they're just there as their stinky damn selves on a nice bed in this like historic place in Samoa?
Roy the Virgo says Survivor Shuffleboard comp era is peak. Yeah, it's
but I just sat there like,
that's a good theory though.
I just sat like, I'm watching them touch things, and I don't know if I'm just like a rule follower or whatever, but I'm like, bitch, you just can't be touching shit. Looking for clues. In what world do you think that they hit a clue in a museum on all the shit there? Of course they're gonna do it in the one piece of food they gave them, which was popcorn. And I made the comment to my dad when we were watching it. I went, how do Colby and Danielle have so much control of only having 1 or 2 kernels of popcorn when I, as a full person who ate 30 minutes ago, have not been starving on an island, eat it fistfuls at a time?
Right.
I was like so blown away by this.
So
anyway.
Danielle finds the clue, and Amanda tries to take it from her, and it just becomes like the most like awkward like tussle between these 2 women, and Colby is just so uninterested by all of it. Like he's like kicking back on the bed. He like doesn't care. Like he doesn't recognize like how badly that him and Amanda need this. Danielle and Amanda both look at Colby to kind of like decide like, Colby, come on, right? Like I have it. No, I have it. No, I have it. And Colby's like, Amanda, give the clue back to Danielle. That's it. And
which, if that's going to be your decision, how come as they walk into camp they don't make an announcement that says Danielle found the idol clue, and then let's just make sure it's like man-to-man coverage on top of Danielle, Parvati, Russell?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like you would think that like regardless who gets the clue, like the information needs to be out there to everybody.
Instead, they go, let those 3 people walk off, in Jerry, the 4 people walk off to the side and look at the clue, and let's just whisper about, Daniel has the clue. And of course, once again, we see just such horrible reading of character from the heroes on the villains, where they go, well, Danielle's so greedy that she won't give it up. Bitch, what do you know about that whole group there? They're not greedy with each other.
Right.
Russell has given idols to Parvati.
I think
Parvati has like put her game on the line for them as well. And she just handed Danielle immunity in this last challenge, right? Danielle kind of owes them some shit. Do you think that she's honestly just going to hold on to it based off of all the stuff that they've given? That's just such bad character reading. Yeah,
for sure. And it's tough, right? Like I think that it's really just as simple as like Colby just like doesn't care about the strategy of the game. Like
Absolutely.
The body language just like says it all for like the 2 girls and Colby. Like he's just like sitting back on the bed, like he really doesn't care. So of course, like Russell finds the idol right away, and he's a little burned from this merge thing with Parvati playing the 2 idols. He decides not to share the idol with either of them, which I understand. Yeah, I think that's probably the right move.
Smart move. And instead, what he does is he shares the idol once he's found it with Candace, which is also a smart move, because one thing that Russell is incredibly good at is sussing out what people's weaknesses are and when they're desperate in the game. He knows exactly what to bring somebody over to the side. It's not too dissimilar from Sandra. They have different approaches in this. But Russell knows how to take someone who's on the bottom of the totem pole and make them the most powerful person in the game for a vote.
Or make them feel that way,
Exactly.
Yeah. So while Russell is like working on Candace, right? Like he's saying like, you need to flip, like we're going to take Amanda out of this game. I have the idol. I think that the idol is like really what spooks Candace. Like without the idol, I don't think that Candace flips here. We see her say multiple multiple times in confession, like, I'm scared of the idol. Like, I need like a more concrete plan is what she says. And with the idol knowledge, like knowing like where the idol is going to be played, that is a more concrete plan to her than these heroes who have honestly kind of treated her like shit up to this point.
Which is even more baffling because they know that Russell's going to play the idol on himself when it comes to tribal, which is why they switched the vote to Parvati. And it's even more puzzling why Candace and Sandra don't see that it's beneficial to their game to vote for Parvati here. You weaken Russell by taking out Parvati. You weaken Parvati by taking care of Russell and or Danielle.
Yeah.
If you take out Parvati, you weaken Danielle and Russell. And then that's the only situation where I feel like Jerry rises in ranks for Russell.
Yeah, totally,
so
totally.
It's actually such a stupid, this is like the biggest mistake I think Sandra has made in her Survivor career, is to not work with Candace closer ahead of time before the vote. Like they had like a brief conversation right before tribal. And what they should have done is Sandra sussed out really quickly, oh, it's going to go one way or the other, because if one of us sides with the villains, then it's going to go that way. So what do you do in that situation? You work specifically with Candace and you say, it's up to us. The two of us, if we vote one way, we've got each other, and you bring Candace in as your number one.
Yeah. I think that it's Sandra definitely has a tougher job here, right? Because like while like she like her and Candace are both flipping at the same time here, like, and both of them couldn't get started on like the process of flipping until after this merge vote happens. Like Sandra was like very adamant last round, like, I need to stick with Russell for this, and then I'm going to go after him. So like I feel like she can't like tend to this garden that is like Candace's like insecurity about like staying with the heroes and everything. And I feel like if you're right, like if Sandra did connect to Candace a little bit more and reassure her that like, listen, like you want the more concrete plan, we have the numbers.
So Jared brings up the good point. The Denise Idol thing says, hi, LOL, to my comment about this being the dumbest move Sandra's made. I stand corrected, Jared. You were 100% correct.
You know, and Sandra tries pitching to Colby for the flip too, which is just like talking to like a concrete wall basically. But she tells Russell that she didn't connect with Colby. She says like, listen, we tried to flip Colby over to the villains. It's not going to work. She's really trying to like reassure Russell here that she's still.
And here's the thing that I noticed the most in these two episodes. Well, I've noticed it throughout Sandra's career, but specifically in these two episodes, when you're talking about some of the most notorious villains, liars, those kind of things in the game, Sandra beats the snot out of all of them. Yeah. She is so good at lying. She is so good. Her nonverbal communication skills, the way she looks at you, her tone, everything is so believable. Versus compare that to Russell. For the two votes later, when we get to Danielle, the way Russell acts with Parvati and Danielle, specifically with Parvati, he was like, no, don't talk to, don't, you're going to do that right now. That is like, I'd be able to see through anything that he's saying right there. Yeah. She is so good. And we saw this earlier with her being able to play Russell like a fiddle when it came to the coach vote out as well. So this is just such a good example of how Sandra can combine her natural skills of a social game player, understanding game theory, understanding people's emotions with her ability to lie. And that truly does make her one of the best players, if not,
And so in this conversation, right, like she's not like letting up to Russell that she's flipping here. Like she's like totally like playing the part of like, I'm with you, I didn't connect with Colby, blah, blah, blah. But in return, like Russell's the one that really misplays this conversation. He tells Sandra that one of the heroes flipped, but he doesn't specify who. He then immediately says after, but you trust me, right? And that's so like, it's cringy, right? Like he's saying like, I'm not going to tell you who, but you need to trust me. And I don't understand how like you can say both of those things in the same sentence and think that's not going to like ring any alarms to people.
No, it's so true. And that's the other thing too, is that at this point, Sandra, based off of just that conversation, can go, okay, I know exactly who flipped, because there's no way to think that Colby or Rupert are going to be the ones that flip. So it comes down to Danielle and Amanda.
Yeah.
And if you look at what just happened with the last vote, it's going to, or not, who did I say? Instead of Amanda and Candace, I meant to say Candace. I think I said Colby. It's going to come down to Candace or Amanda. And based off of what just happened, it's obviously going to be Candace. Like, this isn't a big shock.
Yeah.
So you might as well just be forthright with the information.
And after this conversation, like, Sandra knows that she's 5 out of 5 on the totem pole. She knows, like, this is all the confirmation she needs that, like, she is doing the right thing for her game. So she tells Rupert, one of the heroes is flipping. I don't know who, but, like, we need to figure this out together. Reel them back in. And they try.
And here's the thing, like, Sandra has the wherewithal to say, I'm 5th on the totem pole of either alliance. So what can I do to make a big move to put something on my resume so that if I do make it to the end, I have something that I can talk about?
Yeah,
because
totally.
I'm sorry, saying I'm the one who orchestrated getting coach out is not going to make you a winner. Okay. No. So she tries it. Candace fucks it up for her. Honestly, they both fuck it up, but Candace does the most fucking up. And part of that is because Candace does tell Russell what the plan is, which does work out in the sense that he loses an idol.
Right.
But I don't know. It's such a cringy vote to watch Candace just not make a good decision.
Yeah. So, like, so Jerry wins the immunity. First immunity win for Jerry. Congratulations. Congrats, Jerry.
I'm very genuinely happy to watch her, like. And here's the thing, like, I remember watching Australia, not being a big Jerry fan. I remember watching All Stars and liking her a little bit more, as the seasons came out. So I was all in middle school and high school and that kind of thing. And watching Heroes versus Villains, I just remember being kind of like, she's kind of a non-entity, but watching it again and hearing your thoughts about, like, this roller coaster ride she's on, just seeing, like, her be genuinely happy for something she's done for herself and did so well. Like, I genuinely was like, yes, you go, girl, Jerry.
Yeah, like, she is capable of doing these things on her own if she just, like, does it. You know what I mean? And it's so frustrating when she doesn't. So Candace says after the immunity, I have to go with a plan that's totally solid. And she's like 100. She tells Russell, I'm with you. I'm voting out Amanda. And Parvati tells Russell and Candace together, Amanda never lays down and dies like this. She feels safe. How does she feel safe if she doesn't have the numbers? And this is where it's no turning back. Candace tells them that Sandra is flipping. And that's why Amanda is totally just, like, chilling. To me, there's no coming back from this. Like, the damage is done. And Russell doesn't take the news well. He goes and confronts Sandra. We see him, like, storming down the beach like a little troll or something. It's so funny. And Candace is, like, literally running down the beach after him, trying to, like, stop this conversation from happening.
It's just so cringy. And then the conversation afterwards where Sandra is trying to talk with Candace one-on-one and Russell comes in and she goes, can you just let me do my thing?
Yeah. Listen, Russell, can I have, like, 5 minutes? It's like one person after another. Like, I can't even breathe. And Danielle, like, this is, like, classic, like, Danielle, the watchdog for Rupert, or Russell and Parvati. She's standing there with her arms crossed, like, it's so weird. So Sandra starts pressuring Candace in front of Colby and Rupert. And I don't think that that's, like, the best approach, but it's too late. Like, and Sandra is smart enough to know this. She, like, God, I mean, so, like, this is sunset, like, right before tribal. Sandra tries one more time with Candace, and she's like, listen, I'm flipping for you. I'm doing all of this. I'm putting my neck out on the line for you and your team. And this is what you're doing back to me. Yep. And Candace is like, can't we just take out Amanda tonight and then, like, figure it out from there? And Sandra's like, oh my God, Candace, like, you had it, like, it was so easy to, and, like, Sandra was very smart. Like, this is the time I need to flip on Russell. She had all of her ducks in a row. She made sure that, like, the timing was absolutely right. And it has just all gone to shit. If I were Sandra, I would feel like this is the end of my game. You know,
Yep.
I feel like it's going to be like impossible to get yourself out of this situation, and it's a mess. But
It really
you know,
is.
Russell plays the idol at Tribal, which is just a total like, you know, that tells Candace like I don't trust you fully to that you flipped with us. So it's interesting how like how well like Parvati can play an idol, how well Sandra can hold on to an idol. Yeah, information. But Russell, like he's just like it's burning a hole in his pocket like way too quick. Like he has to do something with it.
And part of that comes from his confidence that he's just going to find or be handed the next one, essentially. Now, before we go any further, Jared in the chat comes up with a really fun scenario to think about. He said, I'm still so salty that Sari didn't make it farther because she has said that she would have flipped with Parvati Danielle. Imagine a Sari, Parvati, Danielle final three. And then he says it would have been Micronesia 2.0 and we would have loved it. And I completely agree. It would have been really cool. I believe Sari would have done that. I know she says it in retrospect, but I really think this is what she would have done. It's very clear when you watch Micronesia that she was much closer with the strategic planning with Parvati than she ever was with Amanda. And you could even tell in this particular season for the few votes that she was around for, she's done with Amanda. Amanda is just not the ally she needs in order to get things done. So it would have been really cool to see the three of them team up. Danielle would have taken that Amanda spot where she's easy to kind of manipulate and say, this is what you're going to do, but she does it and she does it well, whatever the tasks are.
Yeah. I mean, like, I keep saying this term for Danielle this season, but watchdog, like that is like what I think of her as, unfortunately. And we'll see that implode in the next episode. So we, of course, like, no, Amanda goes home. And, you know, this is where like, it's done for the heroes winning this game.
There's no way.
No way. No fucking way.
The next two votes are flukes. And I don't even consider Candace a hero in the next one because she flipped. So we get to these next two votes and we're going to talk about Candace going and we're going to talk about Danielle going. And Colby and Rupert, I will say that this is Rupert and Colby's best strategic episode with Candace. And I would say probably out of all of their seasons, they are not known to be strategic players. They're known to be physical players and people that you root for because of who they are as people, but not necessarily who they are as game players.
Right. I mean, this is their most confrontational too, I'll say.
This is their most confrontational. This is also when they decide, you know what, instead of thinking of like, this is where, I mean, Rupert always, we've talked about this a lot. Rupert takes whatever the theme is and embodies it. And then instead of winning the game, the most important thing is living the role he's been given for the show.
Right.
And what I love about this episode is that even though he's a hero and he's trying really hard to keep the heroes tribe there, he and Colby look at each other and go, let's play the game and let's not take any prisoners and let's be confrontational and let's do what we need to do to mess with them. Because first of all, they have to. But secondly, they also like it's the ability to kind of shake up the game since they being the other tribe, the villains, and Candace don't really expect them to do anything.
Yeah.
So this confidence that they have, this ability to kind of trick them into thinking that Rupert has an idol, these kind of things are really quite amazing. They're a break from the character arc we see from both of them having this season. And that's why rewatching it, I was like, you know what? I got to give them props.
Yes. Yeah. And it's important to give them props because it doesn't happen too often that we're able to. So that's my opinion on it. But Jerry immediately says that like we come back from camp and she says to confessional, Candace, even though she voted with us, has proven now that she's an untrustworthy flipper. And in the words of the great Dan Foley, flippers go home. We see Rupert and Russell really get into it too at camp. Rupert says, you're the worst villain, worser than Johnny Fairplay. And Russell...
No, time out. He goes, in a confessional, He says, he may be even worse than Johnny Fairplay. which watching it both makes me cringe so hard and laugh at the same. Like, I find it entertaining, but I also don't want to watch him give any confessional because he always talks like this.
And his eye contact to the camera is very stern.
I was not ready. Wow. The heroes would go down.
So he's saying to Russell, "You're a disgusting person," and Russell's like, "You are the one that fucked up. You such a dumbass, Rupert." And so Tim, my boyfriend, said, that's not very good jury management for Russell to be saying these things to people that could be voting for him in the end, and that is so true. This is it's little stuff like this, like the way you treat people as people instead of chess pieces. They're not going to want to vote for you in the end when you're literally calling them a dumbass when they've been duped twice in a row.
This is exactly why Russell has not won a game.
Yeah.
It's because he doesn't know. He's an incredible strategist. He does understand social strategy, but he doesn't know social empathy within the context of being able to make the jury want to vote for you at the end.
Yeah.
You can't bulldoze people and flaunt it in their face and give them your wicked sneer that you do and expect they're going to just vote because you played the best game. And now I think that there's a lot of really good evidence in this season and a lot of good arguments out there to say that he plays the best game. And I think that there's plenty of good things too for Parvati or for Sandra. But when we get to that final three, if you can't make people want to vote for you, they're not going to. And you're not going to do it by saying, well, I got you out, I got you out, I got you out, I got you out, and this is all the shit I did. They're going to go, yeah, but guess what? Parvati also helped get me out. Parvati got me out, and I like how Parvati acted here. Sandra was a part of those votes too, but guess what she didn't do? Exactly what you did, which just made me feel stupid and small.
Yeah, and if you're too weak of a person to not want to look back at the tapes here and understand that about yourself, you can look at it on Big Brother also. Like, this is the story of Paul in Big Brother 18 and 19, literally the same exact thing.
Exactly. You can't. Paul and Russell actually have a lot in common when I think about it.
Yeah.
That they're both really good players. They're both very aggressive players. They know exactly how to whip people into shape and keep the control. But what they don't know how to do is when you turn on those people and they enter and they exit the game, or the people who are against you in your alliance, you don't know how to make those people want to vote for you and give you money at the end of it.
Yeah, you kind of push your alliance members out one by one out of the plane without a parachute, right? And expect them to be okay when they hit the ground. So of course we get to the immunity, and everybody jumps down for food except for Parvati and Rupert. Good for Rupert for staying up there. But like I said, what choice do they have at this point?
Well, Colby did it, and you just kind of look at Colby and you go, I'm sorry, were those 5 kernels of popcorn not enough for you the other day? Or
right, yeah, that's
or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just, this is another proof that Colby should not have been brought back for this season. And maybe that's a controversial thought to have, but he doesn't want it. This entire season, except for the couple of times he's really applied himself in challenges after people have called him out on it, he's not playing the game. He's coasting through, and basically he's like out there just for camera time.
Yeah.
Which I don't even genuinely believe he wants.
Yeah. I say bring back Ethan if you're looking for like a hero from like old school, or Lex.
And I'm not sure if Ethan could have played at that time because I don't know what his camera struggle was in 2010. Right. But there's so many people in those older seasons. Bring back Lex.
Yeah.
Bring back, there's so many people that I would love to see over Colby. If Colby's not going to apply himself. If Colby is going to apply himself in this season, what a fun season it would have been.
Yeah. I agree. And I don't think there's anybody more disappointed than Jeff.
Hopes.
Yeah, which I love. I love that for him.
That and James earlier this season.
So after everybody jumps down for food, except for two, Jeff reads the new idol clue out loud to everybody, because I feel like Jeff is probably like fucking pissed at this point that like everybody's just like handing the game to Russell at this point. And I find it weird that he reads the clue in front of everybody. I think that's the only time that he has done this.
I believe he's done it again in the next couple of seasons at some point, but I don't know when. I feel like this is the first time it's happened.
Okay.
It's weird. It's weird, but I think my theory for this is, yes, I think that there was the idea of, oh, we're handing, a win to the villains and to Russell and all that other stuff. But if anything, it's probably because producers have said camp is pretty damn stagnant and there's not much that we're able to film that's interesting.
Yeah.
So let's have them go out on an idol hunt.
Yeah. And it works, everybody scrambles for the idol. Rupert puts a big rock in his pocket, pretending he has one. Russell falls for it, which is great. Good on Rupert for thinking of that. And Sandra finds the idol. This is Sandra's first and only, or no, not only after Winners at War. So she finds the idol.
She bought that one.
Well, yeah. That's true. But, and Sandra keeps it to herself. She's not going to tell anybody. So Russell falls for the big rock in Rupert's pocket. So we get to Tribal, and it's pretty collective that, like, Candace needs to go here. And I'm bummed to see that, like, Colby and Rupert, they are so happy to see Candace go. And I understand that from an emotional standpoint, but they kind of still need her at this point.
I don't think she would have worked for them.
I know, but what other choice did they have?
What they needed her for was this vote and to pile votes on her so the two of them stayed. I mean, there's no way. If they hadn't voted for Candace and if the other girls had it, correct me if I'm wrong, because this was around the time the episode I started talking to my dad about something separate. So I could have missed something. The girls, as in Parvati and Danielle, they just come up with the plan separately from Colby and Rupert. So it's just a fluke that they just happened to get 5 votes on Candace, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. Like, they made the only move they could make. They needed Candace specifically just so they can vote her out. So I don't blame them at all. I mean, what could they have done? Otherwise, it would have been Colby going home or Rupert going home.
Right. Like the window of opportunity is closed, but like I just wish that they had the strategic wherewithal to not like sit there and like smile as she's leaving, because she's gone and she fucked you guys over, so like vengeance, I get that, but like it's not helping your game at all. You know what I mean? Like, you're next.
At least have the wherewithal to pretend that you're smiling because Russell's not in control.
Yeah. Right. And
pretend that you have the wherewithal to be like, it sounds like some of the villains don't really know what's happening right now.
Yep. Stir the pot, baby. Russell's mad at the girls for taking out Candace, and he says in confessional, I should have sat them down and had a little talk with them. And I hate the way he says that. I should have sat them down. Like they're like children or like dogs that you need to like discipline for not like following your every move. This is exactly how Russell loses the game, is like thinking about people as like, I need to sit them down.
Not specific. It's not just people. He thinks specifically women this way. You see it in Samoa. You see it here. And you even see it in the beginnings of South Pacific, but it doesn't get to manifest it in South Pacific at all. They vote his ass out in the beginning. But it's one of those things where like Russell loses not just because of all these different factors we've already discussed, is because he completely and consistently undervalues what Parvati really brings to the game, what Sandra can really do in the game. And he doesn't see that these women make up for everything he's incapable of doing, because he thinks he's Jesus on water when it comes to this game, that he has no faults in his gameplay, that he can move forward, or at least that's what the edit shows us. Maybe he's had some humility in some of those confessionals and they don't air it, but I heavily doubt it. There's like 2 seasons back to back where
and he's gone into the season thinking that he won Samoa.
Right.
Like he has no idea like the outcome of that season yet. While this is being filmed. So, take that for what it's worth too. He thinks that he had a winning strategy before coming out here.
But he also thinks like when he signs up, remember, he called the girls on Samoa dumb girls.
Yeah.
That he was aligned with.
These dumb young girls, they're going to do what I want.
And to think that Parvati and Danielle are dumb girls.
No way. No way. No. And so like Russell sees his control slipping away. Parvati tells them like, listen, like no bullshit. Like we just take out the rest of the heroes. And she says, because if one of them are in the end, they're going to win because the heroes tribe is like all on the jury.
Right.
And she's right, but they don't take it one step further and realize that Sandra is a hero in villain's clothing for the rest of the season. So I like that little like foreshadow to how the votes go.
We've had this discussion earlier in the season, and now having rewatched the episodes and such, first of all, we know that Candace was likely a replacement cast member, wasn't somebody who was probably sought out first, but rather was somebody who was maybe like
Natalie Bolton
down on the
right.
Right, and Natalie would have been on the villains tribe. That's why there's no way she would have been a hero. No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
So the thought process is that, first of all, I've never understood Candace as a hero, given that she literally mutinied her tribe in Cook Island so that she could be with her showmance, which had nothing to do with strategy. It just had everything to do with her sexual arousal desires.
Right.
So that's there's literally that. And over these 2 seasons, as much as I love Candace as a person, I just find her so unrootable because, like the rest of the heroes tribe, she almost gets there with a piece of strategy, and then gets distracted. And then like,
yes, like I want to root for her, but it's like watching like a car crash in slow motion that like you can't stop.
It looks like the car isn't going to crash for a second. You're like, oh, thank God, and then she's like, let me double down and spin this wheel, like, right? What the fuck? So it's and unfortunately for her best outing strategically is when she gets eliminated so early in the season. And
I agree.
In Blood versus Water. And that's like the most compelling television is when she's just winning challenges and fuck you, Brad Culpepper.
Yeah,
and all these different
that is the hero I can get behind.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So what's interesting here is if she's going to play on this season, my whole point of saying all of this is I never understood her as a hero. I always understood her more as a villain. I never got a hero edit from her in Cook Islands. I always got a villain one. And to take another Blood versus Water reference here, when Jeff talks to Rupert's wife when she's the only newbie on a tribe of returners because she's taking Rupert's place on that tribe.
Mm-hmm.
He says, do you belong here? I asked that question to you, Tyler. Does Candace belong either on the season or on the Heroes tribe?
I don't think so. Like RuPaul has filler queens, so maybe she's the filler queen of heroes versus villains.
So she's the Joey J of
I
will say this though, in real life, Candace is a true hero, and specifically over this past year. So I do want. None of this is meant with malice for Candace as a person. It's meant more so for what we've been shown on television, but the work that she's done as a medical professional, specifically in COVID, to try to spread the word about all the good information out there about COVID, encouraging people to get vaccinated and stay safe and do all those things needs to be acknowledged. So I say
if I remember, and this could be totally wrong, but I think Sierra Reed from Tocantins was supposed to be a hero.
Oh, okay.
Which would make sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that she had to drop out last minute or something. So to me, Candace smells like a last-minute replacement, just in terms of like fitting the narrative and stuff. But I digress. So Russell,
it makes me just think like, imagine if they'd gotten rid of Candace instead of Stephanie LaGrossa. Like, what would this season be like?
Listen, I love Stephanie LaGrossa. Like I said here on this podcast, I was rooting for her and Tom in the Heroes. I would have loved for that to happen. But Rupert got super jealous of Steph.
I have a broken toe, but I'm also jealous.
I'm the real America's favorite. So Russell wins immunity. And I feel like because Russell is safe here and everybody knows it, I feel like this is why Russell just like starts going crazy and trying to like concoct like all these insane plans, because he knows that like the table can't be flipped on him back on this round. So Parvati tells Russell and Danielle they need to flush the heroes, but Russell tells Danielle that Parvati should go next. Rupert's broken toe is the bring. I love that, Rory.
I love that. That's so funny.
And Danielle tells Russell right away, like, listen, this is not the right time. We just need to take out the heroes. Like, stop making this complicated. And let's not forget, like, this is not the first time Danielle has disagreed very vocally with Russell.
Right.
And that does not sit well with Russell. If you not with me, you against me, and you will go home. And that's exactly what happens here. Russell then goes to Parvati and says, Danielle, she wants you out this round. You got to go. We got to take her out. And Parvati's relationship with Danielle is strong enough that she says, no matter what happens, I'm not voting Danielle out tonight. How does that benefit my game?
Right.
To take out Danielle here. It makes
better to talk to her, figure out where she's coming from, because Parvati knows that she has this toolkit to be able to change Danielle's mind, should that even be true.
Yeah.
And she knows that she could potentially say, Danielle, without me in the game, this is what your future looks like. And I'm saying that not as a desperation to keep me around, but for this. And it becomes so blatantly obvious that it's just a lie, not only from the way that we talked about earlier, that Russell just cannot contain how awful he is at lying in this moment.
Yeah.
Just given the fact that this is a classic case of not being able to read people for how they can read people.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense.
No, totally. I mean, like Parvati says to Russell, like she calls him out on the bluff right then and there. She says, well, I should go talk to her. And he doesn't like it at all. He's like, listen, if you go talk to her, you will go home tonight. And now Parvati's like, okay, so now you're threatening me. I can't go talk to Danielle to try to like work this out with her. Like this is very clearly like a setup from you. But the frustrating thing is like, we can't do anything about it in terms of getting him out, which sucks. It sucks that he wins immunity this round.
But don't you think an interesting thing here to do if you're Parvati or Danielle is to turn to the heroes and Colby and Russell or Rupert and say, we can't get rid of Russell this round. Mm-hmm. He's trying to turn us against each other. We need to get him out as soon as we can. We're with you two now. Let's get Jerry out.
Yeah. I think that is the move, and I don't see any of the heroes or even Sandra being
mad
at too upset at that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with that. I think
that getting Jerry out here, it makes the most sense for a Parvati Danielle game. I don't think it hurts a Sandra game. I don't think it hurts it obviously helps the heroes, the two of them left in the game. The only person that it potentially hurts a little bit is Russell. Mm-hmm. And then you make him upset. And what does he do? He gets crazier and he makes bigger risks in terms of like how he's going to talk to people and such. And you cement that he's not going to win this game, even if he makes it to the end, which is true. But
yeah. So Parvati and Danielle, they align. They're like, listen, like this Russell is just going fucking nuts. And they identify right away, we need to go to Jerry and just reassure her, like, don't fall for it. Like, we're voting out Rupert. Like, just keep it easy. And it's good that they're targeting Rupert here before Colby, because, that's a little extra reassurance to Jerry that, like, listen, like, you can still have Colby in your back pocket. You guys have, like, a good, like, at least, like, working relationship from, like, all of your history on Survivor together. But unfortunately, this is where Russell's great work on Jerry in the pre-merge pays off. And this is why like clipping Coach so early and having Jerry kind of be forced to have her loyalty to Russell, it was just so important and such a great move at the time for Russell. It totally enables him to get away with this here.
It enables him to get away with this. And it also, it sets her up for not being able to make her own relationships in the merge. I mean, there's no reason specifically at this vote she's not aligned with Rupert and Colby.
Yeah.
There's no reason why she doesn't pull Sandra into that, and they're the force.
Do an old school alliance, like her, Colby, Rupert, and Sandra.
Why wouldn't the four of them come together when she and Colby have played together twice? She and Rupert have played together once. Sandra and Rupert have played together once. Like, there's no reason why the four of them shouldn't be able to come together and say, that other side is a mess.
Yeah. They're causing like all the bullshit. Like, let's just get them out.
Shit. Okay, so why don't the four of them come together and go, we can't vote for Russell, we vote for Parvati?
Yeah, Parvati is vulnerable this round. Yeah.
Right. And as they know, that's when Sandra can go, I have the fucking idol.
Yeah.
They don't have it. So why don't the four of them come together? And it's exactly to your point, Tyler. It's because, first of all, it's a matter of things. Rupert's not smart enough. Sorry, Rupert. Colby is done.
Yeah.
Sandra is just trying to hold on.
She's in survival mode, right? And she's
in survival mode. Yeah. And she has her idol, and she doesn't want to cause waves because she doesn't want to have to use her idol yet. Yeah. And then Jerry is so whipped by Russell that she can't. But if the four of them had come together, I'm not saying that this season would have been saved by it, because obviously it's a fantastic season, but just think about how fucking awesome that would have been as we go into the end of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing is like, it would be one thing if like Danielle and Parvati had brought in Jerry on the idol for the merge, right? Like the evidence is there. Like the actions in Jerry's perspective are that I am on the outs of this alliance. Who is the only one going to me with information? It's Russell. Like Parvati and Danielle are only going to me when they need me not to flip. That's not a good thing. You know,
this is where I feel like Sandra could have upped her game a little bit more. I think that more fans would have been more validating of her winning, because I think a lot of people think of this more of Parvati and Russell's loss than they think of it as Sandra's second win. I do think that people think of it, obviously Sandra won.
I know what you mean though.
But they think of it more as like, it's like a Josh in Big Brother. You think of it as Paul's loss, not Josh's win.
Right.
So I think of it in this situation that this could have been a prime example where through the pre-merge into this early merge setup, this is where Sandra should have been positioning herself while she was trying to do so with the heroes. She should have been trying to position herself a little bit more with Jerry. She should have been saying, so this is what I got over here, blah, blah, blah. But she has to be careful because she knows that Jerry's going to talk to Russell. So why not put little things that are true in there about like, so this is what we're going to do to vote, even if she's against what Russell and Jerry and all them are going to do, right? Because she's building that trust. But then she's also got to go, so this is what Russell's doing right now.
Yeah,
I know that you're close with him. So who are the three of us going to vote for, Parvati or Danielle?
Yeah.
And she's going to say, well, Russell wants us to do Danielle. Okay, great. Here's why I don't think that's a good idea. I think we need to do Parvati.
Yeah.
Because if you get rid of Parvati, you become Russell's number one.
Yeah. And I think that Sandra
can do that, and that's why it's frustrating.
Right, but I think that like because Sandra has this idol, right? Like she just made like a huge fuss last round, put herself in a really bad pickle. I think that Sandra's really scared of her position right now.
Totally.
So I think that she is just like totally. I think that she played this round perfectly. She had no reason to stir the pot or put any attention on herself.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying that this could have been stuff leading up to this one so that she would have had more stock if she had gone to Jerry and said, I think we need to vote out Parvati over Danielle because you become Russell's number 2. I become number 3. Danielle goes at the bottom of the totem pole. Then we can kick off these other 2. Like that makes it so much smarter of a move.
Yeah.
It makes Jerry feel like I've got both Sandra and Russell coming to me. I'm not the one who's going home here. And I just think that this is just.
I'd be really curious to see like where Jerry goes if Russell had been taken out instead of Candace, or instead of Amanda. Like if he doesn't play his idol and he like in the votes, Candace doesn't flip. You know, where does Jerry go? She's probably next. So at Tribal, Danielle said, and this is like even more confirmation for Jerry. Danielle says the three of us are in an alliance, meaning her, Parvati, and Russell. Right when she says this, that is when Danielle breaks down, because she knows that like I just slipped. Like I just made a huge mistake by saying that, because how does Jerry feel? Like why should Jerry keep you? When remember previously, so like after Coach was voted out, the first thing we hear from Jerry in confessional the morning after is, I have to trust Danielle the most now that Coach is gone. She says Danielle, she doesn't say Russell. So to hear from Danielle in Tribal, the three of us are together, not the four of us, that's pretty damning.
And not only that, this is now the second Tribal in a row where you hear Sandra not being involved at all with the villains tribe, which is exactly more fuel to my point. If Sandra had been able to have those conversations with Jerry, you hear that at Tribal, you can't tell me that doesn't sway Jerry to want to work more with Sandra than she does with at least Danielle and Parvati.
Yeah.
You put a little bit more stock there. The other thing that is said is that Danielle does in order to seal her own fate here is that because there's a quarrel going on, obviously the heroes know that they're safe, but they feel like they're empowered here because, Danielle also let slip, you don't understand how close Parvati and I are.
Yeah. That gets eyes from like everybody.
That gets huge eyes. And because it's such a powerful statement, if you have somebody who you are not going to turn on in this game, whether it's a showmance or somebody who is just an unbreakable duo with yourself, if it's not blatantly obvious because you're also in a strong three, first of all, you tell the third person you're a third person. Secondly, you tell the other people where the dangerous pair you have to look out for. You put the target right on yourself. And there's nothing that Parvati can do to save Danielle there, which is why she shuts up for the rest of the tribal council.
Yeah, it's because she knows like the damage is done. Yeah.
And this is exactly why I don't think Danielle's a bad player, but it's where her mouth gets her in trouble. Like this is something we see in Panama. This is where we see it now. Like she is not somebody who she can sit on information when she is sworn to secrecy. But if she's under the pressure, she spills it. Her emotions get the best of her. And she falls exactly into what Russell wanted. Russell wanted her to have an emotional breakdown because he knows that she's just going to do anything and everything she can to stay, but that's to her detriment.
Yeah, when the watchdog is off the leash, like you can't control it anymore, and sadly that's Danielle, and she says in Tribal, Jeff asks like, "Are you taking this like personally?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm taking this personally." And Russell like still does not compute that like Danielle is not going to vote. Do you think that Danielle's going to vote for me over Parvati? No way. No way. No.
This is exactly the point too, right? So if you're in a trio and you're saying we're going to be final three, at some statistically that's not going to happen, right?
Right.
So you have to figure out, who do I sacrifice in that three who will vote for me? Who do I want on that jury who's going to vote for me rather than who do I want to sit here at the end with? If Russell was smart, he puts the target on Parvati, not Danielle.
Yeah.
Because Parvati would recognize game over the relationships. I'm not saying that Parvati would absolutely vote for Russell. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that she's more likely to say, Russell, you little snake, you got me. I'm going to give you my vote, over Danielle going, fuck you. You made me look stupid. You made me break down. You made me do all these other things. I'm going to vote for my girl. Parvati.
Yeah. And I actually think that like this puts Jerry in a pretty good spot.
Totally.
Like it announces more allegiance to Russell, right? Like she's certainly not the biggest target when like Parvati is still around too. And she still has like the Ruperts and the Colbys to kind of like dabble with if she needs to. The frustrating part is just like she doesn't she doesn't understand it. Like she's
Nope.
so like misted that like she just did Russell's work once again. And I would love to have her on the show to hear like what her train of thought is like for this season and these votes, because it's wild. And you just see like the misting happening.
Is Jerry on Twitter?
Yes, but I'm too like wuss to like tweet at her.
Oh,
like,
I will tweet at her. Because here's the thing.
I would pay money to have her on this show to 100%. Talk about this.
I would donate to a charity of her choice to have her on the show. Because here's the thing, right? She is somebody who we think has probably the most fascinating arc on Heroes versus anybody else. The things that we say in criticizing her gameplay are not meant out of malice. They're basically meant out of
we want you to
succeed better than you. It's not because you're a shit player. You're the exact opposite of that. It's just that you got bested, and you got bested by people who played a very different game in their original seasons than you did. So like, what's going through your thought process here? I think all of that would be so interesting to
totally, especially because like she votes for Parvati in the end. Somebody who like she really didn't have the best connection with. Like she really thought of her as like a threat to her game, and she ended up like respecting the hell out of it more than Sandra and more than Russell at the end. So I just
even though that Sandra did win, what a way to also secure a vote from Jerry if she had done exactly what I said.
Yeah, totally. Jared points out, I saw this on Twitter too, but Candace just tweeted she's got the second dose of the vaccine. Doing the Lord's work. Yes. That is all very, very, very good. And Ethan asked, did Colby and Jerry play every season with each other? Yes, they did.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's so funny too, because they're like rivals, but friends, but they like, do they ever work together?
That's the thing, is like they don't really show it this season. Like they're reconnecting, and I don't know whose fault that is.
Yeah, it's very interesting. They seem pretty civil in the very few scenes we see with them together. Yeah. It doesn't seem as like as it had been in the first two seasons, but this is just something that's really interesting to.
I think I honestly, Beth, I don't think the thought really crossed either of their minds that like this is what I need to do to get myself out of this pickle, unfortunately.
Yeah. You know? Well, I think that it also is just it's not intuitive in that moment. Why would it's the difference between a Colby and a Jerry is like the exact opposite of a Parvati and a Boston Robin Winners at War, where they look at each other and go, we actually need each other, so let's work together, versus like we haven't been on the same page before.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. I like that. But I think that's everything for this. Next week, we will be back with the episodes 13 and the finale. So we're going to be wrapping it up next week. I feel like the finale for Heroes versus Villains is really just like a love letter to Sandra. Like she gets so many great moments. And she says to Rupert, loose lips sink ships. And he's like, yes, they do. And she's like, yes, they did. And then she says, you're such an idiot. I'll vote for you now. And if I'm up there in the final three, you'll still give me the $1 million vote. And he does, which is amazing.
And what? You know, that's twice he's voted for her to give $1 million.
Yeah, he says, I'm honored to write down your name for the second time for $1 million. So I can't wait to get into all of that.
I wish he had said it with the same inflection that he does with his trouble. I'm honored to give $1 million to Sandra.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Crazy. But so I can't wait to talk about that next week. Our next show will be on Wednesday to talk about episode 5 of the challenge. So
yeah, it's crazy. If you guys haven't subscribed to my weekly meltdown, please do so here on YouTube as well as on Apple or Spotify, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, where we have our podcast there. If you want to become a patron, we did just do RuPaul's Drag Race season 6. You can find all of those episodes listed on our Patreon for those that become patrons. It's just patreon.com/myweeklymeltdown. That was Tyler and Allison's first season ever watching Drag Race. If you're new to Drag Race, if you want to know what the hype is about, I highly suggest you give it a look and check out our coverage of it.
Yeah.
And then anything else that we need to discuss, Tyler?
Well, after Heroes versus Villains is done, our patron exclusive show for January will be Heroes versus Villains, the My Weekly Meltdown brand steel version. So you'll see some of our favorite queens from RuPaul's Drag Race season 6 out there on the island. Are they a hero? Are they a villain? Maybe some players from Big Brother 22. Christmas might be a villain. I don't know. Definitely a villain. And you, me, Allison, Finley, we're all out there on the island. So I can't wait to see how that plays out. Who will be the ultimate hero or villain? We shall see about that. But if you want to see that show, and those shows are always like a blast. Just like it's just like come hang out with us, and we're just like cracking up like the entire time. So definitely join us on patreon.com/myweeklymeltdown for that. But with that being said, I think that's everything. So
thank you to everybody who was in the chat tonight. It was really fascinating to see all of your thoughts and perspectives. These are really fun episodes to cover, and I love hearing what you guys bring to it in the chat.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, everybody stay safe. Wear a mask, and we won't. Wait, what? Christmas Scooter is a hero for putting up with her. Yeah, for literally having to carry her. Yes, I love that. But yeah, all right. We will see you guys next time. Bye.